Hello! So, gonna do another stream again. And I'm only 18 seconds in, and then there's lots of people already here. So, if I remember right, the voice diaphragm is actually fairly decent on this mask. I probably won't wear the mask for the entire stream, but I'm certainly going to wear it for some of it. I don't actually have a can to pick up in here, sadly, but I'd be the one telling people to pick up the can, wouldn't I? No, it's not an S10, but the S10's also not my favourite mask, despite what a lot of people seem to think, so there's always that. Now, I might do this stream for a bit longer than an hour as well, like I might try and do an hour and a half, see if I can manage that. The only problem with having a mask on for too long, as I've probably said before, is your jaw starts to ache when you talk for too long. But as this is made from kind of like that stretchy Russian rubber, it might not be as bad. This mask isn't actually bad. I said in a video when I did a video on it, it was surprisingly good, really. It's very similar to an MM1. Oh, thank you very much, Unknown Silence. Appreciate that. Did you have any particular questions or anything? Right. Hi Team Limitless, glad you like the videos. Plans for future videos. I've already filmed like a month's worth of videos already, because I'm about a month worth ahead, but there's lots on different gas mask tests at the moment and doing things with gas masks. Well, the actual name of this mask I think is the Chinese M64 or something like that, but they've converted these to put a standard 40mm thread on them. That's like an aftermarket kind of thing they've stuck on them. But they're on eBay, they normally are sold under the name something like paint, spray, chemical, gas mask, something or other, blah blah blah. Yeah, I've been to lots of places IMC, that gets asked every stream. I've been to, if I list all the countries in order, well, not really in order, but if we start from west and go to east, if we exclude any places in the UK, I've been to Portugal, I've been to Spain, I've been to France, I've been to Germany, I've been to Austria, I've been to Poland, I've been to Hungary, I've been to the Czech Republic, I've been to Slovakia, I've been to Norway and Finland, I've been to Greece. Have I been to anywhere else? I can't remember. No, there is no banana-shaped gas mask as far as I'm aware. The filter on here is just a Scott particulate filter, but NATO filters do screw into this mask alright because it's got a normalised thread on it. I bought the SLR from D&B Militaria, which is a site that sells deactivated weapons. I'm just going to try and get the webcam pointing down a little bit more if it can, just so the mask's more in frame. That's better. Well, it depends. The M50 is a better mask in itself, but the 4GP takes 40mm filters, which in my opinion makes it slightly better, because I don't really like proprietary masks myself. I've already done video Unknown Silence on different nerve agents. I did like the history behind them and everything like that, and I've also done videos about sort of how to get the best possible chances, but you're kind of screwed if nerve gas is actually used. No, I don't collect medals or dress uniforms. Budget. The problem with filters, you see, is it totally depends on where you are and what's currently on offer. The best thing to do, I'd say, is just look in hardware stores or eBay for filters that are in date, that are what you want. I do. Weirdly, I bought a, I think it's a Belgian rucksack, which I was going to set up like a bug out bag in and then never got round to it. I've also got some like carry bags and stuff like that that aren't the gas mask satchels. But yeah, I've not done videos on them, annoyingly, so I really ought to. My favourite Soviet mask is the SHMS. No, I don't recognise the name of that rucksack, so I don't think I have that one. I'll Google it just to double check, but... no, I definitely don't have one of those. If you search Belgian Army rucksack, though, you can see the one I have. It's the one that's not in the jigsaw pattern. It's like the canvasy kind of coated one. The nylon sort of canvas type one. But mine's a 40 litre sort of big one. But not, you know, not big as in like a really big rucksack, like the 100 odd litre ones, but, you know, big as in it's a decent size. I actually have a firefighter's mask, but I don't have the air systems for it, and I wouldn't really want to get an oxygen tank or an air tank or anything like that. Oh, that's really good, Alex. Well done. Sorry, I didn't see your comment to start with because there was others that had come up. If legislation is passed on something, it totally depends if they actually try and take them or not, because sometimes they pass legislation and just, you know, prevent the sale of new ones. Comfortable mask for me is probably the CT12 or the Forshida F2A4, but again, it's going to vary from person to person depending on face shape and condition of the mask, if you have any like rubber allergies or anything like that. I take it you mean like surplus military equipment. Probably my falchion, because that was just over £400, but that was obviously custom forged. Most comfortable Warsaw pack mask? I quite like the Czech CM3. I find that fairly comfortable. Most of the Soviet masks and satellite masks are all the same, so I'd say probably either the CM3 or CM4 mask. No, wearing a GP5 without a filter is perfectly safe because the asbestos is in the filter itself. Most uncomfortable mask? Well, if you exclude things like children's masks that don't fit me and then I can put them on there, just not comfortable, maybe the Scott GSR, I don't know. That's really not comfortable at all. In my surplus collection, Lee Enfield was the most expensive, I think, out of everything I bought. Actually, no, it had been the M1 carbine, because I think that was about £450. The mask I've got on now, Alex, is a Chinese M64, as far as I'm aware, but it's not in a totally original condition because they've put like a newer 40mm thread on it rather than having the old permanent hose attachment. The PBF is actually quite comfortable. but the issue is obviously the filters aren't really known if they're safe or not. But it's got an oral nasal cup in there, so it doesn't really fog up. Somewhere around 90 masks, Team Limitless. I don't have a... I used to have a Word file where I like put down every mask, but I lost that when Windows 10 screwed my PC up. And I've never bothered doing it again, but I'd say around 90 masks if you include duplicates. No, I don't have a Plague Doctor mask because they're not actually gas masks, and I'm not really into a lot of those weird sort of steampunk kind of things. I know obviously the original Plague Doctor masks aren't, but I've never seen any for sale that aren't like weird steampunk sort of things. Oldest masks I have, some of the World War II masks I've got, which are, well, like pre-World War II masks, which would be like 1920s or 30s, but some of them the date stamps have actually worn off, so I don't know exactly when they were made. But, you know, like pre-war British World War II masks, basically. I don't really like wearing them because they're obviously less comfortable than not having one on, but they're interesting enough to do, and it's a good lung exercise to do. Because as I said before, I'm asthmatic, so you're actually doing almost good lung training if you're using a gas mask, because you have to work your lungs harder than normal. Don't know what elemental knives are, Gizzly Bear. The most expensive mask I've bought, as I've said many times, was my XM28. What do you mean, is my favourite British gas mask ex-police or whatever? I really like the CT12, the armed police use FM12. Worst mask I have, either the Scott GSR or an M10 or whatever. No deactivated pistols, only replica pistols. Yeah, you can see that I've got bows behind me, so I think you're being a bit silly now. Alright, thanks Mike, yeah. Don't forget to like or dislike the stream, everybody. I'll leave it up to you which one you want to do or don't do. Well, if you have hay fever or whatever, they certainly help with stuff like that, like dust allergies and hay fever, if you actually need to use them as and when something like that, you know, happens. I'm not going to get any more for now, just because the laws are sort of changing on them and they've gotten worse in my opinion. Hello to anybody joining. I'm going to try and do this stream for a bit over an hour, so it's just gone 8 o'clock, so I might, I started it I think about 10 to 8. I might go as long as 9:30 if I can manage that, but maybe 20 past 9 or whatever, we'll have to see. Cool. What masks do you have then, Queensland 603? It's like gun plastic, whatever gun plastic is. Mine's not wood furniture, it's the plastic, but it's solid plastic, it's not like cheap nasty plastic. I don't know what you mean by that. What camera would I use in an apocalyptic scenario? Because in an apocalyptic scenario I'd probably not be very interested in using a camera, and you wouldn't be able to charge them. Yeah, that's cool. Civilian duty masks are cool. I think there's already a bit of an arms race going on. Impossible for me to say because I've not tried every mask. There's like much more expensive Avon and Airboss masks that I've never tried before, which are meant to be very good. Like C4s, FM53s, the new one Australia's using. You know, if you've got the money to spend, there are some really, really high-end masks out there, but I'm more interested in the surplus stuff that you can get for cheap. The PBF is certainly more comfortable, Jesus. I'd definitely say that. The DIY filter, you mean the one that's the, like, vitamin tablet plastic tub filled with activated charcoal with the particle filters at the bottom? Yeah, I've still got that. You mean like the upgrade to the Challenger 2, so that'd be interesting, but I wasn't really aware the Challenger 2 was obsolete. I just use my CT12, as I said, it's my favourite mask, so I'd use that one. They come in all sorts of colours. I mean, black is the most common colour for a gas mask, because, I don't know why, I just guess because they don't have to really dye the rubber, or whatever, but there are some that are green, some that are like olive colours, some that are white or grey, you know. I did a really crap DIY one, Season Slasher, but I don't have the materials or the workmanship skills to make a good one. Oh, but Alex, if I gave you my opinion on it, it might cause the price to raise, because don't you know how that's how the surplus market works? If I say something is good or bad, it immediately affects the price. The M65 is an alright mask. From what I can tell, the M65Z is the best version of it, or variant. But the Israeli M15, if you're going to get a mask like that, is far better than an M65. I already answered that question earlier in the stream, Saxon, so I'm not going to answer it again. No, I've not heard of that rewarding name. Cool. There's the actual Australian version of that as well, Christopher, because the Australian version was the one they actually tried to make camouflaged, which is quite interesting because it's like the rubber, when it was cast, they mixed like brown and green in, so you've kind of got like this baby puke, vomit, horrible sort of colour mask, but it actually is sort of camouflaged. It depends how it's disposed of when the Polish army finishes with it. You are stupid. Obviously I'm not calling you stupid, that's your username. It really depends how they decide to get rid of it out of their own sort of service, and how long they sort of plan to have each mask in service for. And I really don't have any clue. They could keep them in for 20 years each, for example, and then have a firm destroy them, or they could, after 5 years, just flog them on the surplus market. It really depends. The stream health still shows green at my end. I'm just going to quit a couple of things to make sure nothing tries to download in the background on my PC, which could slow it down, but I think that problem might be at your end, not my end. Yeah, easily Season Slasher. The problem is I probably don't have enough, you know, working modern filters. Well, if it was close enough to me, I might do. However I pronounce your name, W3XOR. But I certainly wouldn't go out of my way to go into an NBC environment. Yeah, do you think I personally, Shackleton, caused the British Army to get rid of the GSR because, you know, it's actually a really good mask, that I undermined it? The whole reason Scott got bought out by 3M and the British Army decided to move away from the GSR was because I, you know, said bad things about it on my YouTube channel. You know, maybe that's the case, or maybe that's just delusional thinking from certain people, I don't know, but it does make me laugh, some of the crap people come up with that don't like me. They could just say, I don't like your videos, I'm not going to watch them, but some of the really interesting conspiracy theories about me are quite funny, to be honest. Oh, I've heard of the one rewarding them, yeah, where they basically, but the British Army and Americans did the same thing, where they obviously did all the nuclear tests and they got the soldiers to watch in different trench positions and things like that. And then obviously they used it as an effect for later on to test the effects of radiation. I mean, stuff like that's really horrible, but it wasn't just the Soviets that did that. America did it, Britain did it. The mask I'm currently wearing, and the reason why I'm just wearing it because it looks good on the stream and it keeps people's interest more often than if I'm just talking with my face, is, as far as I'm aware, a Chinese M64, but it's the versions where they put the 40mm port on it, like the later ones. For people who are interested, I will get you an eBay link up for these, because you can buy them for not very much money at all if you want one. So, let's see if I can find one for sale. Yeah, there's one for £12.90 with free postage. Right, so here you go. If you would like one of these masks, I have just put in the comments a link where you can buy one. As you can see, it's this mask. It will come with an awful Chinese filter that doesn't work, but you can open that filter up, dump the contents out, and then use it as a prop filter for a GP5 or anything like that if you wanted to as well. But the mask itself works absolutely fine. Well, I can't link it in Australian dollars, no, because I'm in the UK. Buy it if you want or don't. If I streamed in a GP5, it would have to be the GP5M, because people wouldn't be able to hear me in a normal GP5. Yeah, I've also got an OM14 and I've done videos on it. Yeah, and I've done one in the Polish MUA. Well, not a stream in it, but I've done a video on it. I think Beastall's sending me some more stuff again as well, so when that arrives I'll do videos on whatever he's sending me. I don't think that'd be more than 20 Australian dollars or something like that, Queensland, but I really don't know, because obviously I can only see what's available to ship to England. I don't know what you mean by that. How can I see if the validity of the filter? The only thing I can think about that, Jason, is like some of the 3M full face masks or the 3M half face masks. Because they look more like painting masks. I don't really think you get many full face masks that don't look like full face masks. Well, like the bloke from Beastall, yeah, sends me a load of stuff, like I said, so I review the stuff, sort of thing, because I bought from him quite a few times before, and then he just sent me a load of stuff for free, so then I've linked to his eBay page quite a few times. I know the thing you're talking about isn't real. There's a fake thing where a guy puts like makeup on his arm to say he's been exposed to mustard gas or whatever, but you can't easily make that by mixing chemicals in your house, so you know. Yeah, the Israeli 4A1's a very good mask if you've got a new filter on it, because it's a full-on rated NBC, you know, CBRN mask. Maybe at some point Bygar, but you know, it's just a very simple type of exhale valve. Do you mean the M95 mask they've got? The one that the finish built under license from Scott. That's meant to be very good, but I don't have one sadly, so I can't review it. Nearly all of my masks are combat effective, but I don't know what you mean by combat effective. Do you just mean they would work? Scott GSR isn't too bad if you change the filters one at a time. Well, if you're in Australia, that's probably why, because I'm assuming it's too hard for people to ship to Australia. Supposedly Australia has some really weird laws about gas masks as well, from what I've heard from other people. Yeah, now I'm starting to feel the ache in my jaw a bit from talking. But do you mean, like, if you wanted a mask for Airsoft, I don't think any are really rated for it. But any of the modern ones with, like, the polycarbonate kind of front visors at least aren't going to crack from being hit by 6mm BBs, so there's always that. So, I don't know, maybe, like, I think an M50 with the polycarbonate front cover on would be fine. Like the MCU2P with the front polycarbonate cover on would be fine. Most masks that have a voice diaphragm on the front that's of a decent size are pretty good. It's actually really hard for me to know how good they are, because it's easier for other people to kind of hear how efficient they are, if that makes sense, when I'm talking. Because whenever I review the footage, I'd have to film myself talking in like 20 different masks with voice diaphragms at once and play them back to back, making sure I was always stood at an equal distance and speaking at the same volume to the camera to get an accurate, idea. Australia manufactured some, as I was saying earlier in the thing. They made like their own versions of British masks. If you just put better lenses on the S10 iMac, because the normal S10 lenses wouldn't be strong enough for Airsoft. Just having a yawn. At least this mask keeps a good airtight seal to your face when you're moving your mouth around a lot, unlike some masks I've tested that with. Do you have anything on the front of it though? Because I wouldn't think the MP5's like silicone style visor would actually be strong enough. If you had ones, Alex, that were in good condition, yeah, but a lot of the GP5 inserts are like so old, they've sort of cracked now and don't work. There was a bloke, Shackleton, that got in a load of trouble because he used to wear SS uniforms into like Asda or somewhere. Don't know if it was the same bloke. Yeah, this is the really cheap Chinese mask, Callum. The one I actually quite like, despite how silly it looks. The rip-off of the MM1. You've missed about 30 odd minutes of stream, but I don't think you've missed anything important, if that's what you're asking. Well, there's no masks really designed for people with long hair, but I think most of the helmet style masks would work if you had long hair, like GP5s, GP5Ms, SHMSs. Some masks with straps would work, but again, you ought to really cut your hair if you're trying to use a mask with them. Filters can be very expensive to buy, but sometimes they're cheap. You just have to hope you're in luck with stuff that's available at the time. It really depends. Like, sometimes I can look and find filters with a couple of years on the date that are cheap, and other times, there's stuff that costs like £30 plus for a single filter, so it just varies really. This isn't British camo I'm wearing, this is Russian. It's Russian SS Leto camo, which is a sort of copy, rip-off type thing of German World War II oak leaf camo. But it's definitely not British. I'm just going to adjust that near my ears because one of the bits slipped and that was hurting my ears then. I'm going to probably stream on Christmas very briefly, but I'm not going to do a video for it. Oh yeah, you mean the Riot visor for the Mark 6? Yeah. I doubt you could wear glass over this mask. It's a strap mask. It's not one with like a GP5. It's similar material, but at the back of the mask it's straps. I'll show you. There you go. See, it's individual straps. SHM41 is slightly higher quality than the GP5. The GP5 is basically how they cheapen the SHM41 to mass produce it. Well, I wouldn't know, because it should be a surprise, shouldn't it, for Christmas? Yeah, I said I'd rather have a 40mm PBF, but sadly it doesn't exist. If you've got a question, just ask it. Don't ask like, can I ask a question about something? Just ask the question. Most of the time I just literally know what I'm going to talk about, then talk about it. I find scripting's a bit unnatural. For me at least. The closest I ever do to scripting is sometimes I just write down a couple of bullet points of things I want to cover so I don't forget to talk about something, but I can ramble off about stuff from just memory. I'm going to really stay the same because when I try most new things people don't like it. You can actually get S10s in Australia because the Australian Army used them for ages. So you should have S10 Australian surplus masks around. Favourite camo is probably this one I'm wearing right now, to be honest, SS Leto. Yeah, field of view is pretty bad in this mask, to be honest. You're pretty tunnel visioned, which is okay for the stream, but it's similar to an MM1, if you've used an MM1. Some models of the Serbian M2 masks do have the voice diaphragms, so yes, it would be possible. Because it's a bit like with the Finnish M61 V3. It's got like the plastic and metal voice diaphragm at the bottom, so in theory, yes, you could have one, but I'd say it'd be easiest if you've got the version without it, to maybe get a Finnish M61 and attach that one's voice diaphragm. No, this is originally a Chinese military mask. That would be the S6, is the one with the worst fisheye effects as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I wouldn't pay £70 for an S10 even if it came with all the accessories. I'd say £50 maybe. A lot of S10s at the moment are around 60 quid on eBay, but they're not really worth that. I mean, I know the supply of them is slowly drying up, but personally I'd still try and get one for £30 to £40, 50 at a push, because you can get FM12s cheaper than S10s now, and the FM12 is a better mask than the S10. The Metro mask is meant to be a GP9, so the GP9 or PPM88 is a real mask, so you can literally go on eBay and buy it. I've just never bought them because the shipping's always been extortionate. Probably if it was an SKS that could take AK mags, like some variants could, then the SKS, if not an M14. But I'd rather have a FAL compared to an M14, and I'd rather have an AK compared to an SKS. Yeah, I know with a lot of masks you're meant to put your chin in first and stretch the straps over the back of your head, but if it makes an airtight seal it doesn't actually matter. As I said earlier in the stream, Crux, it's probably my GSR. Well, A means pretty much brand new condition, B means it could have signs of wear, so if you're going to really rely on it, I'd always go for A with something that's like personal protective equipment. No, I don't have an M53. Which one? The original? In the original, I think it's an Acme, like, something or other it's called. In the remake, it's a GP7, isn't it? But I've not actually seen the remake, I've only seen the original. All of them Saxon, but Canadian C4 to begin with. I showed that in the last stream, so I'm not going to do it again, but you can take the dust cover off and that's about it. I don't know what you mean by GPM. I've never watched either Rift Tracks or Mystery Science Theatre. No, training filters are normally just particle filters that are used in like the gas chambers. This is Russian SS Leto camo, also known as Partisan. I've already answered that question, Sir Shorkey, so I'm not going to answer it again. Well, your facial hair isn't going to grow that fast in an hour. If you're clean shaven when you put a mask on, you shouldn't ever be in an NBC scenario for days or anything like that. My favourite pair of combat boots was my old German ones, but sadly they've broken down now. Newest US mask I have is the M40 and the M50. I like Raindrop a lot, Stricton. You should be able to get a GP7 for like £20. They're not very good masks. I will look up that camo you're on about. That's basically just multicam though. I prefer SS Leto by far. Sarin, I would guess. If it was a high enough dose, it would be very quick. I'll get the M50 out briefly, hang on a second. Right, there you go. I won't bother putting the filters on it. But there's the M50. But interestingly, if I did find the replacement valves, the better valves they did, you can change those over, because to take the valves off, you literally just pull them off. If I can get that in frame. There you go, so you can take the valves off that easily. They just literally push onto that little spike on each side. So then to put them back on, you just push them on. There you go. But I'd need to get the replacement valves, I think, to make proper use of the M50. But as I said, I prefer 40mm masks to the M50 anyway. Right, I might have to skip a load of comments because obviously I got loads when I was, like showing the M50. No, I only have the regular Serbian M2 and I have no idea where that is, which has really annoyed me. Because I've done videos on it and I must have put it somewhere because I have too many masks, you know, somewhere in the house, and now I can't remember where it is, and I've looked in all the cupboards I normally store them and everything else. You know, and I just have no idea where it's gone, so, you know. Alright, if you want to see some knives, okay, because I've got this one here. I always have the Fairbairn Sykes reproduction there. There's an FS knife. That'd make a good thumbnail, wouldn't it? Or you could actually have some decent practical knives like this one. Alright, cheers Tyler. I wouldn't say I'm an expert though, I'd just say I'm enthusiastic about them. Oh, I don't know if I could wear one for a whole day unless my life depended on it. Oh, the FS knife is a dagger. Yeah, because the gas mask's made of rubber, so if somebody stabbed you and you had a mask on, it's not going to do much to protect you. I don't really have hunting knives, to be honest. I have a couple like sheath knives or skinning knives, but, you know, I don't hunt, so there's no point in me really having loads. I generally prefer knives for more practical things. Like, other than collecting old military ones, I prefer knives that I'm actually able to make use of. You know, like pocket legal carry knives, because the UK law on knives is a bit funny. Knives that, you know, like saying something like this. This Prometheus one, for me something like this is a lot more valuable because it's a legal carry folding pocket knife, so I can actually have it in my pocket and make use of it. Whereas a lot of these big kind of cool looking knives, you have to have an excuse to carry them in the UK, so therefore they're pretty useless to me. Yeah, that's an L1A1 SLR behind me, which is the British FAL. The only bayonet I've got with a cutter on it is my AK bayonet, but I suppose if I did get some spare wire I could test it. The only thing I could think I'd do a bit better airsoft now if I could would be to have better lighting, maybe a newer camera, but again, that's about it. I like doing the videos the way I do them, you know, if that makes sense. I wouldn't really want to have a different style of doing videos. Sorry, I was just looking at your channel then, if you could see it reflected. My favourite military hat? Probably my Czech one, let me get it. So, well, one I like for the Czech one I really like is this one, which is kind of like a deer stalker, where it's got the flaps that you can either tie over the you know, hat or keep your ears warm in the winter with it. So you put that on, and then you can tie that, obviously, if I didn't have a mask on, you could tie that under your chin like that, and it keeps your ears warm. But this isn't a military one at all, but the one I actually like as well is the bump cap, because obviously that gives you head protection. If you ever smack your head on something, you can understand why it's a practical thing to have. Sorry, no, British Mark 5's in a different room. I've got two Mark 5's, but neither of them are in this room, so I can't really get them out, because I'd have to go for a couple of minutes to go and find them. Yeah, that's cool, Mike. I think I've seen you approve some comments, because I did see some held that then, you know, automatically approve themselves. Wow. One of the best UK carry knives, or legal carry knives, just a good old classic Swiss Army knife. But, Mike, Weapon Collector's done a lot of videos on different knives. The San Renmu ones, I think they are, that he's done some videos on I really like, because they're the ones that illegal carry because they don't lock, but they have a thing that prevents them closing on your finger, which is a really good idea, you know, with the mask. But yeah, I've got a load of VZ50, whatever it is, camo stuff, it's called, that pattern. I do have that other check cap as well. I don't want to stand on that cap. I've got that one in like the oil slick design, that's designed so you can't tell if it's dirty. I've also got the camouflage cap there as well. There aren't any adapters that let you put Soviet filters on NATO masks, if that's what you're asking. The only proper adapters you can buy are 60 to 40mm ones, and that was just for keeping older masks in service for longer. Merry Christmas, if you're off. Well, I try not to get political, as it says you are stupid in the description. But obviously, testing chemical weapons on your own soldiers should be a war crime, and the British government's done lots of scummy things like that over the years. I'm just waiting for some more questions now. I've already done a video showing all my knives. I mean, it's probably out of date now, because I've probably got a couple more since I did that video, but I'm not going to do an update video on it just to add like an extra 1 or 2 knives to it. Right, VZ85 cap, okay. For me, I'm just seeing the exact same cap come out, just without the print on it. So, I like the one I've got, because it's got the infrared pattern on it. It's still a nice looking cap though. Do you mean the M65? Yeah, that's fine, as I said earlier. I could do a video, but I don't have enough bows really to justify it. I did one on crossbows, but all my bows are in that one corner, so you can see them all there. There's the big recurve bow, there's like the kids training bow, there's a compound bow, and there's a flat bow. There you go, that's my bow collection. I prefer FN than Heckler & Koch. It depends. Do you mean, what would I use in a riot if it was like a really hairy situation where you were definitely going to be attacked? Or do you mean like, almost like more grey man kind of like stuff that gives you personal protection but doesn't draw too much attention? Because that would be very different. Like, if it was a full-on scenario, I'd say like the riot helmet and everything. But if not, I'd say stuff like the bump cap, because it would give you head protection, but obviously it looks a lot, you know what I mean, like if you were wearing this, looks a lot less, you know, out of place than if you were wearing a riot helmet, that's for sure. Well, it's harder to breathe with a gas mask on than without one on, Tyler, but if you've built your lungs up for it, it's not all that difficult. I think you're more going to overheat from having a mask on, more than everything else. Yes, I've done videos on crossbows, look them up. Probably a Stahlhelm, Riley. Like, I don't know which variant particularly, but M40s, whatever, just because it looks cool. No, it's not a threadbare takedown recurve, it's Geologic, or whatever they're called. Favourite World War II gun, in terms of like how good it probably was, the Sturmgewehr 44. In terms of like ones, I have the M1 carbine, but I can't really get that down because it's behind my PC on that wall. So, you know, it's awkward to get at. But I've done videos on it. This is a Chinese M64 as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I've got a Riot shield, I've done a video on it. Probably hear me tapping it, it's there. Can't see it in frame though. For all the people saying like, why am I into gas masks, why do I collect it, I just find militaria interesting. I've done a video where I explain it a lot more about like why I started collecting a lot of stuff, but there's no real like magic answer to it. It's just I find stuff interesting. I'm sure most people have stuff they find interesting. You know, some people collect stamps, I collect gas masks and militaria. That's all there really is to it. Yeah, a lot of the masks on AliExpress though are generally like the paint spraying ones. I'm obviously a lot more into the military style ones. Yeah, this mask, for the low price it costs of something like £12 with free postage to anywhere in the world, yeah, it's not too bad. It's obviously a rip-off of the MM1 Soviet mask, but it works. It's not too uncomfortable because I've been wearing it for 52 minutes now on this stream, so, you know, could be worse. The voice diaphragm seems okay. You can put 40mm NATO filters on it, so yeah, if you wanted a mask that works for not very much money, yeah, you could buy one for like 12 quid. There are Swedish gas masks, but I don't have any other than the actually, no, I do have Swedish gas masks, don't I? Because I have the Type 32 really old one, the one that's like a British general service sort of civilian sort of mask, and I have the Forshida. It might look like a toy, but it works. I just buy them, I don't sell them. Ghillie suits, if they're worn in the right environments, can look good, but I think, to be honest, just wearing regular camouflage with a bit of scrim net on it works just as well. Now, the filters that come with this mask are awful, but you can put any NATO filters on and it will work fine. Yeah, I know I have the Swedish folk mask, that's what I just said. The I think the Type 32 is its actual name though. History, I like obviously all the Cold War stuff, hence all the gas masks, and medieval history. As said, I'm not into backpacks enough to be able to answer that. Well, let's say each mask averages about £30. Do 90 times 30, so let's just say 100 times 30 to make it easier. That would be £3 grand. Then give or take a bit, because some masks are worth more than others, so maybe £3 grand, but it's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. Yes, the FM12 is a very good mask. I like either, you know, like what people would call Crusader helmets. I don't know if they've got a proper name, but my favourite medieval helmet is the Saleh helmets with, you know, like the chin guard bit on it. I'm gonna see if I can get a picture up of what I mean. Right, what's the name of it with the chin bit? Anyway, I'll link you to a picture of it so you know what I'm on about, but the picture's going to be too long to link to, annoyingly, the URL. Hang on a second. Just Google Sallet helmet, or Sallet helmet. I don't like the GP7, no. I'd say more around the time of the War of the Roses, so like 1300s to 1400s kind of period, because I find it more interesting when you've got crossbows and the longbow involved, you know, more sword variants, things like that. Just wondering if I make, why that's making that noise now, the mask. I think it's one of the straps, but there we go. Right, thanks Shorky. Not that I can really think of, sorry Alex. Unless you can get a cheap World War II helmet, but they probably cost quite a bit. Got this mask from eBay, like I get all my masks from eBay. Out of all the masks you listed, the M2 Yugo is the best one. No, I'm not from Scotland. You can probably tell from my accent I'm not from Scotland. Well, 3 wolves or a bear means I'd probably be pretty screwed, but probably the bill hook I've got that Richard Weaponsmith did, because at least the bill hook's got enough mass to it and it gives you reach. I wouldn't want to be using a sword against a bear. No, I've never been to Northern Ireland. I've been to Scotland. I've been to Wales, but I've never been to Northern Ireland, strangely. Alright, what you should do, Daniel, is just go see a doctor and get them to do a lung x-ray, and then they can assess if you've actually pulled any asbestos into your lungs, so they can look for scarring. And yes, Adam, genuine Stowhounds would be very expensive. That is annoying me, that noise it makes. When I think it's the zip hitting the filter, isn't it? That's what's doing it. Yeah, that's it. I'll have to look up M43 caps and then tell you. I have a West German one somewhere that I can't find anywhere that had Flecktarn on that was a similar pattern to that, but I don't have a World War II style one, no. No, I don't like trophy hunting at all. I will do a video testing this mask. I did do a video where I did a banana oil test and it worked fine. I'm going to take the mask off now because it's hurting my jaw too much keeping it on. If I can get the mask off. Because it's got one of those weird strap systems where it's quite hard to loosen the straps. There we go. Cool, fresh air. You can probably see that there's some sweat starting to accumulate on the inside of that mask now, from where I was wearing it. That's cool, yeah, I've got a Stowhound, but it's very rusty and has no liner. Right, Merry Christmas to you as well. That mask doesn't fog up too badly at all, no, because it's got Tissot tubes. Yeah, he means Beastall, that's the guy who sent me a lot of stuff before. Non-rubber masks, probably none, to be honest. I've got masks that are covered in other stuff other than rubber, like the stockinette on the Mark IV, but yeah, any military surplus or Kurbat or Kubrat. You need an M17 for that, Estevan. And if it's too expensive to get an M17, get a Polish MP4 or similar, because they look very close to the M17s. Camo drug dealer. I don't think they wear SS Lito, to be honest. Alright, see ya. In my opinion, the SHMS is the best Russian masks. That's convenient though, Mike, because I'm actually probably wouldn't be on for a bit tonight, because I'm going out a bit after the stream ends in my car, and then I wouldn't be back for another sort of hour after I went out in the car, so... Most World War II masks, but the masks themselves often don't, other than the VM37, VM40. Every mask I've generally seen, it's the filter. Somebody on my Discord did link me to somebody selling a Polish mask, and for some reason they were trying to charge £1,000 for the shipping, so I don't know if they accidentally put too many zeros on there or what. But yeah, but the MP4B's drinking system's in a different place to the M17's drinking system. It's totally up to you, but the I think the regular MP4 would just look close enough. Well, if you... What do you mean, I have no choice, but I have to pick one? Or do you mean I have no choice that I'm going to be conscripted, but I have to fight in a war? Falklands, maybe? Or would you class that as Cold War? I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest. Loads. I've done videos on it. I can't list them all here. Pretty much every World War I, World War II filter. And Soviet filters, probably most of the Chinese communist filters as well. Nobody knows for sure, Trent, so be careful if you're going to wear one. For non-IR stuff, well, they all are technically IR, but do you mean light amplification? I can't really suggest much on that because the only stuff I've got is IR. I'd be the pilot of Enola Gay then, Mike. Or the one that dropped Fat Man on Nagasaki. That's a political question, isn't it, Adam? Which it specifically says, don't ask. But I voted for Brexit, if that's what you mean. You've now made me think, though, Mike, of Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. You know, the Enola Gay song. That one. So that's going to be stuck in my head now. Thank you, Mike. You see, that's why it says read description, because if you read the description, you know, you'll then see not to ask political questions or religious questions or whatever else. If I could move to America, this has been a sort of interesting question, because whenever this gets brought up, I like the southern states more for stuff like, you know, like Southern hospitality and a lot of the firearms rights. However, climate-wise, I definitely get on a lot more with a state like Maine, so I can't really give you a good answer to that, I'm afraid. Strike back? Don't think so. Let's look it up and then I'll tell you, or I'll give you an opinion. No, I've definitely not seen that. Yeah, sounds interesting. I'll keep an eye on that. I did like Ultimate Force, which it was Chris Ryan was involved in. Yeah, now I'm thinking of the Ravenous soundtrack, Mike, thanks. Just look at the videos, Trent, of ones I've recommended. Yeah, I've done videos on it. I've got some old Yugoslavian camo, I've got Yugoslavian AK down there. Oh, that's... there. I've seen loads of war movies. Where Eagles Dare is my favourite, but I can't go into every war movie I've seen. No, I know which camo you mean, the one with the big blocky lines on it, but, you know, I don't have any, sadly. It's an interesting looking camo, though, isn't it? At least Montana would be quite cold, wouldn't it? I'd get on with that if it's a cold state rather than the hot state. The one I'm wearing, in my opinion anyway, Russian SS Leto camo. If you watch Brent's video he did on that, it works really, really well. Even when he's walking at some points, it looks kind of like a shadowy thing, not a person. Yeah, I watched Fury, it's not very historically accurate, is it? What, 28 months later is in the film, as in 28 days later, 28 weeks later. Yeah, I've had people come and go though, but yeah, it's nice that people have been liking it, and like it's been good because I think it got to 70 odd people at one point during the stream. But it's been higher than 50 for most of it, I think. Which is, you know, good. Yeah, it's been 54 at a low point. 55, yeah. So, this stream's been actually quite good. A lot more people have been watching this one. Which is obviously good, because if I'm going to the effort of streaming, it's nice when people actually watch them. Tiger Strike, probably jungle. I mean, that's what it was intended for, wasn't it? No, I don't have any military vehicles. I already answered that one earlier in the thing. How did I get into this stuff? So I'm not going to keep repeating the same things. They could do, but I think they restrict your movement a bit, the longer coats. That's the only thing I don't like with them. I know it's the camo and the gas mask that bring in the views. Warship, I don't know the names of all of them. The Yamato, whatever it's called, the big Japanese battleship, I quite obviously like, because that's quite famous. Favourite tank, probably the Sherman. Or maybe Sherman Firefly, because it had the 17-pounder on it. Yeah, I've got some Swedish gas masks, which I've done videos on. You have to have a justifiable reason for carrying them here, though. You can't just simply carry something around to use as a weapon. You know, for the sake of using it as a weapon, you need an actual justifiable reason for carrying it. That's cool. Yeah, I do like scale models, but I'm crap at doing them myself. I used to do a bit of Warhammer though, but then it got too expensive and I just didn't really have the interest to carry on with it. I think a 76 could certainly pen a Tiger from the rear and the sides. I don't know frontally if it could or not. At longer ranges it probably couldn't. It depends if it has a heat warhead as well, doesn't it really? Favourite colour's orange. Like the sort of neon-y fluorescent orange, to be honest. It really depends. I mean, personally, no, but if there's one you really like the look of and want, sure, why not? I have rigger boots, which I like, but they're not technically Wellingtons. But they're better than Wellingtons, because they've got a steel toe cap on, they're built stronger. This is a Scott bump cap, so that's why it's a good cap, because it's designed to prevent head injuries. So the idea is that you can be wearing this, and if you smack your head into the ceiling, you know, it's not going to hurt anywhere near as much as if you're not wearing it. And obviously, I'm sure like most people, you probably have smacked your head into a low ceiling at points and it hurts. The reason I got this was I was out for a walk one day and they were using some sort of big mower thing to cut the hedges back on the field near the footpath. And it either picked up a rock or it picked up like a big bit of bark. It flew out from the thing and it hit me in the side of the head really hard. You know, really hurt. Had a headache for hours. So, you know, I thought actually I'm going to buy a bump cap because at least it's going to give you, you know, protection from flying objects to a degree. They say they don't, but obviously it's better protection than not wearing any kind of hat whatsoever. I used to quite like War Thunder, but I've not played it in ages. Yeah, sure, you can modify a gas mask, as long as you don't break it. I don't have any Russian Gorka suits now. I've got like this thing, which is obviously one of the zip-up type ones, but it's not. It's one of those summer suits. They do have a name. You know, it's like that kind of material that's slightly waterproof, I get, and breathable. I have that Ukrainian Gorka suit type thing for winter use, but favourite World War II aircraft's definitely the Stuka, so Ju-87B. Stuka Pilot is a really good book as well if you want to read Rudel's book about flying a Stuka. When you say jacket, do you mean this? Because this came with both the trousers and the top, and I think it was £30. I bought it from Russia and that was with free postage. I'd say M35, I like the smaller World War II style one. Nothing differently than what I'm doing now, because if Nova 6 existed, it'd be the same as any other nerve agent, wouldn't it? Oh, that's cool. Although, that's probably quite a scary thing to be, isn't it? Because if you have to do an emergency landing, there's some of those... I don't know, on the B-17, I take it... Could they get back into the plane if... Was it like one of the gun seats they could actually get to from the sort of fuselage? Ah, yeah, okay, so that's at least a bit safer. But I know on some of the planes you had to get into the bits from the outside, didn't you? So if the plane had to do a crash landing, you could be killed in the landing because there was like no way of getting out of the gunner seat. Alright, cheers, Matthew. Yeah, like I said, there's a couple of sellers with them around 30 quid. It's just I was a bit apprehensive ordering in case UK Customs stole it from me like they stole a load of other things, but they didn't, so you know, I'm quite pleased because I do like this camo. Yeah, you can be done in the UK for doing a lot of things. The postage was free on this, so it wasn't extremely overpriced, but yeah, lots of postage on things from Russia is stupidly expensive, which is why I've not bought things like the GP9, because I'm not going to pay silly money for it. The Nitro Venom, I think I said on some videos, it doesn't work properly anymore, but that's entirely my own fault, because I was demonstrating something of it snapping the barrel back, and I eventually bent the barrel slightly, so it means that you have to like shim any scopes on it or whatever. It shoots fine, but obviously when it shoots, it always shoots at a slight upwards angle because the barrel's bent now. But it was an absolutely fine air rifle until I broke it. But saying that, it did go wrong within like a month of me having it, and the gun shop sorted it out for me. But I'd kind of recommend spring air rifles more than gas rams personally. Your average English person isn't. It's because politicians have banned them, basically, like they've done in lots of countries. That's cool, Trent. You mean oak leaf camo? Pound, although they're totally different, like Yugoslavian oak leaf or Serbian oak leaf and German oak leaf are different patterns. German oak leaf is like this pattern basically, but Yugoslav oak leaf is more like, you know, an oak leaf actual, what the leaf looks like, and then it's like US woodland kind of thing, but sort of a leaf sort of pattern shape. No, as long as you don't get a really old filter with it, the Israeli masks are very good. I prefer longer gloves only in the sense that they stay on my arms better. But if I was wearing gloves just for like cold weather, short gloves. But if it was NBC gloves, long gloves. No, I've never had a Y-Rauk, but I know they're meant to be very, very good, but I've never owned a Y-Rauk, sadly. Yeah, I'm good, Volt 777, how are you? Favourite gun? That one there. Oh, I said that's really good, Alex, that you passed your test. I'm really pleased for you, so I hope you get your firefighting job sorted, and then I hope, you know, you're safe being a firefighter. You know, so best of luck with that. Yeah, air cavalry is still a thing, but if you mean conventional cavalry, not in many places. I think in certain terrains cavalry might work fine, but not, you know, in most. Was that where it like snapped back? Like you weren't holding like the thing down or whatever, and then it snapped back, kind of thing. Wow, the warmest clothing I have is that Ukrainian Gorka suit thing B-Store sent me, with the really thick kind of padding in it inside, that zips up, has a really good hood and everything like that. But I like M65 jackets, but they're not going to keep you warm if it's really, really cold. You're going to have to wear lots of layers if it's really cold, unless you buy like extreme cold weather survival gear. Is that their cool camo? Yeah, that is the really good camo, isn't it? Finnish MO5 camo I really like, because it's similar sort of pattern to Flecktarn, isn't it? But it seems to be really effective. It's like CAD pack colours with a kind of Flecktarn type thing. But yeah, whenever I've seen pictures of people wearing Finnish MO5 camo, they're actually really hard to see, even when they're standing quite close to the camera. So I take it you've got one that's probably like the spring or summer one, which is the one with no white in it. Then you've got the one with bits of white on, which I guess is like the autumn kind of one. And then I guess the one that's nearly all entirely white is the winter sort of snow one. Out of all of them though, I prefer the one with no white in, because obviously in the UK it rarely snows. So if I had to get one, I'd definitely get the one that looks like this. Hang on. Don't really know. I've never shot about fed bullpup, so I don't know if it'd be any good or not. I like some of the older US Civil War marching music, actually. No problem, Alex. I was saying, like, hope you stay safe doing it, because I know firefighting can potentially be dangerous, so just hope you're safe. But obviously it's a very good job, because you're saving people. Like I said, somebody asked me about Swedish M90. It's an interesting looking camo. I don't know how effective it would be because of the big straight lines on it. How much are they, HW99? 370 quid, at least for a new one. I wouldn't really pay that for a spring air gun. I don't know. I know they're very, very good quality, but still. But I don't really shoot my air guns much anymore, so. I've never had zip-up boots. I've always had ones that lace up. What do you mean about Dixie? Do you mean like the tune Dixie? Or Dixie to Arms, like the military version of the song? Or do you mean Dixie as in the South or what? No, I'm not into football at all. Right, I'm going to be on for probably 10 more minutes, Red Panda, but I don't know if I'm going to be on much more than that, because I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes already. My throat's getting a bit dry now. I like blades and bows, but there's Merlin Archery and a couple of other places. As long as they're just playing Airsoft to play Airsoft, I don't mind, but if they're, like, tactical, taking it really serious people, I don't, you know, I don't really, get that, to be honest. Seems a bit try-hard. Now, obviously, I don't own a C4 bomb. Or a Claymore bomb. I don't even own a Claymore sword. Yeah, Dixie's catchy. They'd be better than nothing, but personally I think you'd be better off with a blunt, like a pickaxe handle or something like that. Or, you know, something heavy that you can swing. Alright, just wait for some more questions to come through now. What do you mean by a SAR? I certainly don't own a SAR bomb. No, I am not good at forging or anything like that. If you want to see forging videos, look at Richard Weaponsmith's content. He can certainly forge stuff. The jacket certainly makes you very hard to see if you're in the right conditions for it. It doesn't make you invisible, but I'm going to get a video up and then link it, because it will show you how effective this camo is, although I do want to do a test of this during the winter. But yeah, Brent, is it? Brent 0331 has done a good test on this, and you can see from his video just how effective it is. If you just sort of skip through the video a bit, you can see just how good a camo SS Lito is. Even when he's moving, he's actually quite hard to see sometimes. I mean, obviously it does depend on the environment, because if you're wearing a really green camo and you live in a snowy place, then no, it's not going to be any good, you know, and stuff like that. But for this sort of stuff, for like spring or summer in most of Europe, I think SS Lito would work very well in woodland. Yeah, I like Flecktarn a lot as well. I'm sure you didn't get a 400mm filter on it, but if you mean 40mm, yeah. I don't actually know of the M88, if you can or not. No, I didn't hear of the new American gas mask. What's that? No, of course metal water bottles are not illegal in Britain. If they were illegal, I would not have one here, would I, showing it on camera? If I could do a camo, it would be 4-colour. It would be dark green, light green, dark brown and light brown. Now as for pattern, it would be something like Flecktarn or Finnish MO5 pattern, I think. So it would work both as a micro and a macro pattern. So obviously you've got little splodges for close range, and the splodges together make bigger colour blobs at longer range. so obviously it'd be intended mostly for woodland or sort of Western Europe theatre, if it's just shades of green and brown. But I don't think you have to overdo it. I think 2 shades of green, 2 shades of brown would work fine for a camo, as long as the pattern's decent. Now, I said this water bottle could be used in self-defence if need be. Obviously, if you held it like that, but it's not a weapon, is it? It's a water bottle. Yeah, but I still don't know which mask you're on about. I'd say a 4x4. I think like a quad bike could be quite good, if that's what you mean by dirt bike, or do you mean like a motorcycle? But I think with a 4x4 you could probably, like a quad bike, you could probably put more load on it. £100,000 is that? I would try and buy a cheap house somewhere, I think, to be honest. Yeah, I've seen Saving Private Ryan. This isn't a surplus one, though. If you want to know the brand, it's Sahara Sailor, apparently. It was like a new one from Amazon. The only thing I don't like with this is it's not totally flush at the bottom. So sometimes if you put on a flat surface it doesn't quite sit flat, which does irritate me a little bit. I've got a PS3, PS2, PS1, original Xbox, Dreamcast, funnily enough. But I haven't got a PS4 or an Xbox One or anything like that. Oh, Xbox 360 as well. No, I don't watch anime. In my opinion, the best cheek filter mask is the PBF, but I still don't like it because it's a cheek filter mask. I've not actually seen Wilko water bottles. Is that like Wilkinson's? Like the shop? I'm gonna look it up. Oh, they actually call the shop just Wilko now, do they, rather than Wilkinson's? Oh yeah, so for a £5 you can get water bottles from them. Yeah, looks like they've got some alright ones on there, but I like the sort of stainless steel ones. Favourite pair of trousers? Probably my Flecton ones, I reckon. Just because the material on them is actually like really comfortable. Because the problem with like the British ones is that they're not that comfortable. No, it's not that they're not comfortable, sorry, it's that they don't keep you very warm. The Flecton ones are kind of like a good mix between good at insulating from the cold, not being too hot in the summer, you know, not going to rip easily because they're a decent thickness, and they're comfortable. And they've got good pockets on, whereas like the British ones rip too easily and they're not good in cold weather. They're good in the summer, but they're not good in cold weather. Yeah, Shalom filters, the Israeli Type 80 filters fit on an S10 fine because they're NATO threaded filters. No, I've never restored a helmet. Worst World War II helmet? Maybe the French Adrian helmet? I don't actually know. Favourite weapon? As in, well, I like the SLR, as I already said. I'd say the SAS are probably the best out of those two. But I think the SBS is better than the SAS technically, aren't they? But all that sort of stuff is classified other than the public information we know about. A lot of special forces sort of things. I've got Eric some German, East German jack boots. Special boat service. You are stupid. So what the SAS is like an air regiment, the SBS is like a naval kind of one. What's the actual limit on them in Sweden then? I know they are more restricted than the UK, but I don't think... Yeah, well, it's originally a German World War II pattern, and then the Russians got the pattern, changed the colours slightly, and then repurposed it, but... I don't really watch either one, but I'd say PewDiePie out of those two. I'd say sort of, but it depends how you define a submachine gun. If you mean a pistol caliber submachine gun, probably. But if you mean just submachine gun as in like a short rifle or whatever, or an automatic gun, no. Because like the AK originally entered Russian service as a submachine gun and the SKS was the main rifle. And then obviously they decided it was just cheaper to use the AK for everything. But you know, I don't think SMGs are outdated. Like you said, there's PDWs that are in good calibers, and you can have like very compact rifles in calibers that, you know, good for recoil control. So I don't think submachine guns in themselves are obsolete unless you mean pistol calibers. I don't think Canada under Trudeau sadly has much more liberty than the UK, but that's getting a bit into politics. There's not any factory stamps on it as far as I can tell, but whoever made British FN files may be Enfield, it could have been BSA. I have a Motorola G4, I think it is, without remembering what it was. Yeah, they isn't it Fracture they called it, or it might have been called Smog Camo. But yeah, Russia does have a DPM ripoff. Yeah, if you search Russian Smog Camo, you get 95 DPM come up. The FAL was considered to be better made than the G3. Out of all the battle rifles, the Sturmgewehr 57, or the SIG 510 was the best, but FAL was considered generally much better than the G3. Well, I've already done videos on stuff like that, but I assume you mean something like the Israeli 4A1. It's up to you. As I get asked that in every stream about M16 or AK, I'd say M16 over an AK-47 or AKM, but AK-74 over the M16. Oh, and that same question just got asked again. And as I said earlier, yeah, it's a rip-off of Oakleaf Camo, just with the colours changed. But the colours, I think, are done better on the Russian version of it. So what's that? Radiation symbol, or nuclear symbol, biological weapon symbol, and a warning symbol. No, I don't think bayonets are obsolete at all. I mean, I think you should just have one that, you know, can clip onto a rifle and then you can attach it if needed. But for the most part, they're not going to be needed very much, but, you know, no point in getting rid of them. British Army stuff is normally ripstop, isn't it? And I still find it rips fairly easily. I don't technically know all the names. As I said, the stuff, how they do Flecton, I really like, because depends what you want it for, though. If it's for automatic firing that's controllable, intermediate is obviously better. If it's for longer range, more powerful shooting, then 7.62x51 is better. You don't really get a jack of all trades calibers, unfortunately. You know, different things for different purposes. Alright, fair enough, but as I said, I'm not getting into a politics argument. Thompson, I'd say, probably. But both of those are very nice. Out of all the submachine guns, though, if I could have one, it would probably be the Sterling. Not just because it's a stormtrooper rifle, but because, you know, it's kind of simply built, but actually built quite well. I don't really have an opinion on bump stocks, to be honest. Just had a notification come through on my phone, but I'll reply to that in a minute. I'll probably finish the stream in a couple of minutes anyway. And I've just seen, Mike, if you're still on, Tumbo's done a video on his new crossbow, so I'll check that out in a bit.
I'll have to look it up to tell you what I think of it. I'm trying to find one which... If it's a very grey looking uniform, it looks to me a bit like Tiger Stripe, but in grey, and I don't particularly like that. It's a bit like with the UCP. It's like, why would you do a camo in that colour? Just give them multicam or something practical. I find the NVA more interesting. I think they have better equipment really as well, to be honest. Other than things like Leopard 2s, because obviously Leopard 2s are amazing, but I know the Bundeswehr is in like a horrible state at the moment, isn't it, with like lots and lots of problems. But in terms of aesthetics of the uniforms and equipment, because I love Soviet era stuff, NVA definitely. But that doesn't mean I'm endorsing East Germany. You can legally own a flintlock that can shoot in the UK as long as you're not going to shoot it, but a lot of places won't sell unless you've got a firearms license, and as I've said before. Isn't the STG-58 though like the Austrian version of the FAU anyway? So, you know, it doesn't really matter between that. That's like saying a FAU and a FAU, but I'd always have picked the SLR over the other FAUs because it's got a couple of other little interesting features on it. If they're airtight swimming goggles, George, then yes, because they're also designed to keep chlorine out of your eyes when you're in a swimming pool. But the goggles that have like the air gaps in, like some goggles do, they're not going to give you any protection. Right, I'm probably going to finish the stream off now. Yeah, I like horror movies. I like a lot of the crap horror movies as well, but in terms of decent horror movies, I like all the Hammer horror ones, and I really like John Carpenter stuff. Most of them are only a couple of grams and not very heavy at all. Pistol crossbow bolts, maybe like 10 grams at max. I have a West German like little jacket thing in moleskin. It's like a sleeveless jacket. It's very comfortable. I can't legally get one of those iMac because British gun laws unfortunately mean if it's newer than 1870 it's an illegal replica unless you've got one of the reasonable excuses to buy it. Cool, yeah, so I was going to say, good stream everybody. I've managed nearly an hour and 40 minutes on this stream. I've had quite a lot of people watching for most of it, which has been nice. Most of the people have been on topic and been asking good questions, so that's always nice. So, you know, glad you've enjoyed it. See you everybody. Next stream will be on Thursday, most likely. So see you all then, and obviously video on Wednesday at 5 PM as usual anyway. So yeah, see ya, thanks for watching.